June 29, 2019. I went to the Lincoln Park Farmers Market in Chicago with one goal: to talk to real people about their real opinions on GMOs. Each vendor at the farmers market was either doing all natural, non-GMO, organic, or sustainable gardening. I wanted to see the difference of what a farmer says about GMOs and what a consumer says. The first booth I went to, I met a farmer named Edith. Her farm was local and she was selling fresh produce. We were finishing up our conversation and she said something interesting. She said, "I don't like GMOs. I think we're messing with fire there. It's okay for hybrids, but I think people need to know the difference between what a hybrid and what a GMO is. If you're not familiar with what a hybrid is, you take two old-fashioned varieties and you put them together to create a new variety of that plant. Whereas the GMOs we're talking about is changing the whole dynamic of the seed." After doing extensive research online and in-field, I decided to side with being con-GMOs, and here's why. 1. We don't know the effects and impacts that GMOs could possibly have on human health. I watched a docuseries recently on Netflix called Cooked by Michael Pollan. He talked about ever since we started eating more processed, unnatural, and GMO foods, that there has been a significant rise in type 1 and type 2 diabetes and obesity in America. Food trends like genetically modified corn products have been rising because of GMOs, and so has the obesity rate in America. 2. GMO crops are engineered crops. They threaten the diversity of crops. When there are GMOs being used for growing a field, it's usually a monoculture field. A monoculture crop means you're only growing and producing a single crop or plant species. Monoculture crops lack biodiversity and are a threat to the natural soil. They strip the soil of nutrients and are prone to plant pathogens and disease. If we are going to have GMOs, there should be transparency in the food market. What hurts more than knowing about GMOs is not knowing. There are non-GMO labels on food, but I believe that people should know what they are buying so they can make an educated choice. If a food item has GMOs in them, it should be labeled. I asked another vendor who was at the farmer's market about what she chooses to buy as a consumer. She said, "My dollar is my vote, and I want to vote for more organics, non-GMO, and sustainable items to be available in stores. The more I buy them, hopefully people will be like, wow, and stock their stores with more stuff like this." 4. It's dangerous when you have companies controlling your food systems and your food sources. Owning seeds should not be under anybody's control. William F. Engdahl wrote a book on this exact topic called Seeds of Destruction: The Hidden Agenda of Genetic Manipulation. He stated in his book, "Control the food and you control the people." When farmers sign up to use genetically modified seeds for their crop from biotech companies, there are usually strings attached, legal strings in fact. To use GMOs, they have to waive rights such as saving the seeds. An article came out in 2015 called GMOs, Myths and Truths, and they exposed GMO crops are not about feeding the world, but about patented ownership of the food supply. 5. Why do we need GMOs to feed the world? Some may argue that using GMOs are necessary to feed the world because we can create a higher yield from the crops. But in an article I recently read, it stated, a report in 2008 conducted by over 400 international scientists, sponsored by the World Bank and United Nations, did not endorse genetically modified crops as a solution to world hunger. It said that yields of genetically modified crops were highly variable and in some cases in decline. 6. Because we can, does it mean we should? Ethically, there is a lot that can be argued about GMOs, but it's food. It's cultural and personal. There are risks of cross-contamination between GMO and non-GMO crops, and genetically modified foods can potentially trigger allergies and diseases in humans. The goal is for genetically modified technology companies to address ethical issues like this correctly. GMOs aren't leaving anytime soon. We just need to wait to figure out how to make the genetically modified technology so that it's safe, sustainable, and benefits everyone.